What if I told you a car someone once sold for a few $100 is now worth over six figures? Have you ever wondered how some of the most overlooked classic American cars, the ones people used to ignore, even laugh at, suddenly became collector gold? Why are buyers today desperately hunting down cars that sat unwanted in garages for decades? And what if one of these forgotten machines turned out to be one of the biggest missed opportunities in automotive history? Today, we're diving into 10 forgotten American class cars that skyrocketed in value. And honestly, nobody saw this coming. Back in the 70s, 80s, even the 90s, a lot of these classic American cars weren't considered special at all. They were just used cars, old metal, outdated. People traded them, abandoned them, or worse, sent them straight to the scrapyard without a second thought. No one imagined that these forgotten legends of us cars would one day become some of the most desirable vintage muscle cars on the planet. And here's the crazy part: some of these cars were once cheaper than a basic used sedan. A few $1,000s, sometimes even less. But today, the exact same cars are selling for insane prices, with collectors fighting to get their hands on them. It makes you wonder, how did we get it so wrong? What changed wasn't just the cars, it was the way people started seeing them. A new generation began rediscovering these machines not just as vehicles, but as pieces of American history. Raw power, bold design, a time when cars actually had personality. And suddenly, the cars nobody wanted became the cars everybody needed. At number 10, we've got the AMC AMX. When it first came out, it had everything: short wheelbase, aggressive styling, and serious V8 power. But it lived in the shadow of bigger names like Mustang and Camaro. People overlooked it, called it second tier, and moved on. That was the mistake, because production numbers were low. And today, that rarity has turned the AMX into a collector favorite. Clean models are climbing in value fast, and what was once ignored is now one of the most unique classic American cars you can own. At number 9, the Dodge Dart's Winger 340. Quick, lightweight, and packed with attitude. But back then, it looked simple. Buyers wanted flash, not function. So this car faded into the background and became just another cheap, used ride. Over time, most were driven hard and disappeared. And now, finding an original is rare. Collectors finally see its true value, and prices have been rising steadily. At number 8, the Plymouth Duster 340. A budget-friendly car that didn't try to impress anyone. Clean design, no flashy features, just raw performance hidden underneath. The 340 V8 made it quick, but its quiet image kept it overlooked. Years passed, most were lost, and now surviving models are getting harder to find. Today, it's recognized as a hidden gem among vintage muscle cars, and its value keeps climbing. At number 7, the Ford Torino Cobra. This one had the looks, the size, and serious big block power, but it arrived at the wrong time when the muscle car era was fading. Rising insurance costs and changing trends pushed it out of the spotlight. People forgot about it. Now collectors see it differently, as one of the last true full-size muscle machines. And because many didn't survive, its value has surged dramatically. At number 6, the Oldsmobile 442. Always in the shadow of bigger names. Never the first choice, but it had everything: performance, balance, and identity. People passed on it, and many were lost or modified. Today, collectors recognize its true worth. Clean originals are rare, and prices have been climbing fast. What was once second choice is now a serious prize. At number 5, the Chevrolet Nova SS. Simple, compact, and easy to ignore. No flashy design, no loud styling. But underneath, pure performance. Lightweight, powerful, and incredibly quick. Back then, it was just another used car, cheap and replaceable. But now, original models are rare, and collectors are paying big money for clean versions. It's become one of the most respected sleeper legends in classic American cars. At number 4, the Mercury Cougar Eliminator. Bold, stylish, and powerful but overshadowed by the Mustang. It never built its own identity, and people overlooked it. Over time, many disappeared, but today, collectors finally see its uniqueness. With limited surviving models, values have surged fast, turning it into a standout among rare vintage car stories. At number 3, the Pontiac GTO Judge. Now it's a legend, but it wasn't always treated that way. In the 70s and 80s, it was just another outdated muscle car. Owners sold them cheap or modified them heavily. Original versions became rare. Today, it represents peak American muscle. Bold, iconic, and highly collectible. Prices have skyrocketed, especially for untouched models. At number 2, the Buick GNX. Different from everything else. No big V, just a turbocharged V6. And because of that, many people didn't take it seriously. But it shocked the world with its performance. Limited production made it even more special. As people realized what it truly was, demand exploded. Now it's one of the most sought-after cars, with prices reaching incredible levels. And at number 1, the Shelby GT350. There was a time when these were just treated like regular Mustangs. Driven hard, modified, even neglected. People didn't realize what they had. But these cars carried history, performance, racing heritage, and a legendary name. As original models became rare, everything changed. Collectors stepped in, and prices exploded. Today, they're worth massive amounts, making them one of the biggest comeback stories in vintage muscle cars. And that's the thing about classic American cars. Time changes everything. What once looked ordinary becomes extraordinary. What people ignored becomes what everyone wants. And what was once affordable becomes almost unreachable. These cars aren't just machines. They're stories, memories, pieces of history. And the cars people overlook today, they might be the legends everyone chases tomorrow. If you want to see more legendary cars and their stories come to life, make sure you subscribe.